You're listening to Legally Blissed Conversations. This podcast reclaims and rewrites the stories female attorneys have been told about how we should practice law, grow our businesses, treat our clients, treat ourselves, and craft our identities as female attorneys. We'll hear inspiring stories from current and former female attorneys, the ones who question the stories they've been told, the ones who aren't afraid to live boldly and step into their own power. We'll learn from women who define success on their terms. Through lighthearted and curious conversation, we'll unpack the challenges these inspiring female attorneys have already navigated. So join me on this journey. You'll be empowered and ready to rewrite a completely new story about what is possible for you. I would love to welcome everyone to Legally Blissed Conversations and a warm welcome to Ana Juneja. Ana is an award-winning trademark attorney at Ana Law. Ana helps celebrities, athletes, influencers, startups, entrepreneurs, and corporations secure and monetize their brands in the U.S. and abroad. Ana Law focuses on flat fee trademark filings, prosecution, oppositions, cancellations, clearance searches, monitoring, enforcement, renewals, and portfolio management. They regularly handle Amazon brand registry, due diligence projects, chain of title assessments and correction projects, licensing agreements, settlement agreements, domain disputes and acquisitions, cease and desist, and IP sale and transfer agreements. Additionally, Ana has extensive experience with social media intellectual property infringement issues. Her insider connections with premier media agencies allow her to have direct access to key social media platforms such as Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Ana Law is the only law firm in the world that offers guaranteed social media verification and account recovery services. Ana Law has a 100% success rate on social media and Shopify intellectual property infringement cases. Ana, that was quite a bio. I want to welcome you again and thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Of course, I'm so excited.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about you. I want to know your story. Let's go back just a few years and talk about when you decided to go to law school.
So, okay, I actually have a terrible reason for going to law school. I don't really have anything I would say in particular that made me go to law school. I really think I just didn't want to be a housewife, and that's why I ended up in law school. Once I got to law school, like day one, I was pretty much recruited into like this IP world. And since then I fell in love, like right away. It was just something I really enjoyed. It was something I had some sort of natural talent for and a passion for. And so it was just like the perfect mix. And the reason that I got recruited into IP right away is because I actually have a science background, and therefore everyone who has a science background that goes to law school basically gets pigeonholed into IP, because to do patent law work, you must have a science degree. You actually have to have a science degree just to qualify for the patent bar and things. So that's why I went into IP right away, so early on in law school. But in terms of why I went to law school, I don't have a good reason. I lucked out that I like it so much.
I'm in a very similar position because I was also a science major who went to law school, who didn't really have this lofty reason for doing so. And also, pretty quickly was like, okay, you're going into IP. So let me ask you, did you end up taking the patent bar? Did you do any patent prosecution?
Shortly. I do a lot of patent management work, and I do a lot of due diligence work. And I've worked with patent attorneys and agents to prosecute patents. A lot of my day-to-day is not necessarily like the nitty-gritty of prosecution that kind of any trademark or patent attorney can do, getting things through the USPTO. A lot of my day-to-day is more on things like the licensing side of things and due diligence projects, clearance projects, things like that.
Okay, so instead of like sitting down drafting claims all day, you're not really doing that.
Yeah, I think I really think of myself first as a businesswoman and second as a lawyer. And I think because of that, I do more of the one-on-one type of projects with my clients or with GCs or M&A teams, because there's not necessarily a ton of IP attorneys with a lot of business sense. And if you have it, then you're going to be pulled in to do a lot of the deal making. And really any trademark attorney can file a trademark, any patent attorney can file a patent, but not every single IP attorney is going to be able to know how to clear a portfolio and get a few extra million for their client. So that's more of kind of like, I would say, my personal day-to-day. Of course, like I, still do the prosecution and, work with other attorneys that do the prosecution, but
Yeah. So let me ask you, when you came out of law school, did you know that you were going to ultimately be wearing an entrepreneurial hat, or did you go work at a law firm and kind of, I guess, pound the pavement as an
yeah.
associate?
So yes, I actually worked at a law firm. And I think it was, what is it called? It's like you're called some sort of intern, right? And then when you get your passage of the bar, like the official, you become an associate attorney. But I worked at a law firm, and then like when I got my official paperwork license, I just was there as an associate attorney after the summer, and then I stayed on and I worked there for many years. I worked at an international IP law firm. We had like 22 offices around the world. We were based out of Luxembourg, and I worked at the US headquarters. So I did work at a firm, and I thought I was going to stay there my whole life. I probably would have without COVID. I really loved my colleagues. I loved my clients. I loved my bosses, all the partners. It was such an incredible opportunity I had. I only realize it now because I kind of was the first associate hired. We started as a 5 attorney practice when I started, and now it's like 20 or something. So it grew really fast in like a matter of a few years. And I was handed projects that I wouldn't have done until like I was a 10th year attorney at other firms. I was single-handedly like managing trademark and patent portfolios of thousands and thousands of applications and registrations. And I think like I was managing, and so I was filing and managing like portfolios of 6,000, 7,000 marks, patents, and in 200 plus countries. So when I was at the firm, a lot of my day-to-day was actually also not the nitty-gritty of like filling out this form and drafting this particular sentence in the application and whatnot. It was really more of the overarching strategy for IP globally for brands. So if we're, I worked with like pharmaceutical companies, agrochemical companies, companies that release a lot of brands every single quarter. So we would do mass clearance search projects, mass filing projects, and then it's managing everything. So when you're filing one mark in 50 countries, you can never do anything in China that would compromise your, UK or EU mark. No argument you ever submit anywhere. So it's like having that overarching strategy, dealing with all the foreign counsel, all the US attorneys, all of that. So
You were very fortunate to get that kind of position, right? Because there's so many lawyers that come out of law school and they go into big law, they're doing document review. And it sounds like you were given a lot of responsibility fairly quickly, and having that, having to like actually manage these IP portfolios across the world, that they had a lot of trust in you as well. That wasn't just luck as well. They obviously like knew that you could be trusted with that type of work.
yeah, I really think it's actually insane how lucky I got, because yes, as at any other firm in the whole world, I would have been doing, I never would have gotten the experience and skill set that I got so quickly. Within a year, I had probably done like the volume and complexity of work that people do in like 5 years at other firms within like the first year. We are doing like I know attorneys now, who they start their own practices straight out of law school, and they build their own client base and everything. But they'll file, maybe 100 trademarks over the course of a few years. At the firm that I was at, I was filing like 100 things a day. And it wasn't just US, it was like in the UK, it was in everywhere in the world. So it's not like you can just know like one set of rules. You have to know like the core of trademark law and then be able to manipulate all your arguments all over the world. So it's like a crazy level of strategy that I had to learn so fast. And at as small of a firm that I was at, there's not really like, you just have to do it. Like if you don't do it, no one's there to spoon feed you and do it for you. So it was obviously very stressful, very high stakes all the time. And that is a lot of responsibility. But, I decided that it was something I really wanted to do. And that's why I kind of like really put everything I had into it and, made the best of my opportunity.
That's awesome. So you were there until about 2020. You mentioned when COVID hit that maybe you weren't, like, you were kind of thinking that you might be in this position for the long haul. So can you take us back to what happened in 2020 with your position?
Yeah, so I left in 2021, and it was really mostly because um I think I was definitely influenced, like everyone was like quitting their job and things. I was probably influenced by that. There was that persona that like, right, like quit your job. And also I just think I really, really needed to build my own personal brand because I just feel like AI is coming. I think regular standard lawyers are very at risk of basically being completely irrelevant and replaceable. And I just didn't want that. And I also just had a really unique in with like influencers and on social media and things. And, they would actually, I have friends who are influencers, as in like they create content which they monetize and make income from, and they have like influence over people's dollars. So people think influencer is such a bad term. I just think if you're an influencer, it literally just means you have a platform which allows you to influence how people spend their money. So if you're posting, your outfits of the days and it makes people buy those clothes, you have influence over money, right? So those kind of people, like standard lifestyle type of influencers, women my age, in their, 20s, 30s, they would ask me about certain things legally because I was their friend, and they were like, hey, like I totally got screwed over on this XYZ deal, or hey, did you hear that like about this case where, this influencer celebrity like lost some IP right? They would ask me questions, and like even when they would come to me for specific matters, my firm wasn't really, most firms don't take clients like that. They really don't want to deal with anyone younger. They don't want to deal with anyone in a newer industry. So there wasn't an opportunity, I felt, for me to build my personal brand in a completely flexible way. I never really explored that with my old firm, but I didn't really feel comfortable pushing to do so. And second, I just think I saw that there was this untapped market, and there wasn't really at that time like a ton of IP attorneys with the level of like expertise I had serving these people. So, and there's influencers that make just as much as corporations. They deserve to have competent legal help as well, even if it's, an industry that's looked down upon by the legal field. It shouldn't be.
Well, yeah, the firm that you were with, they probably worked with clients who had legal budgets, right? Like built-in legal
Yeah.
budgets. And so when,
So for my clients.
yeah, yeah,
So it's not a budget thing. It's like if you don't understand an industry, you're more resistant to it.
yeah, yeah.
We're all lawyers, like we can't, do work for free. It's always going to have that cost, but it's being able to help people in a way they actually need to be helped. So these influencers who are willing to pay a lawyer, who want legal help, my firm doesn't even want to, probably wouldn't have taken them. And then they're going to have to turn to things like LegalZoom, which they don't even want to do. So it's like there actually was truly like a gap in the market. So there's definitely a subsection, of the population that doesn't want to hire a lawyer. They don't see the value in it. But most, all my clients do. So all our, clients do for the attorneys on social media and things. So there was just a gap in the market. There were probably firms that helped them, but even if you go to some firm or some attorney, if they don't understand your business, they're not going to be able to competently help you. So anybody can fill out the USPTO form and hit submit and pay that $50. That doesn't mean they're actually understanding what that client does, how they're making money, or what goods and services they're providing. They don't understand, what they're creating, what intellectual property is actually associated with being a creator or influencer. And there are just not that many attorneys who have that experience on so many different sides of social media and marketing, plus the IP background. So I just saw this huge gap in the market, and I felt like really it was just time I needed to kind of capitalize on it. I felt like if I didn't, someone else would.
How is that feeling of letting go of the firm that you were at? What was that like for you?
I mean, it was definitely hard because I really loved like the people I worked with and my clients and the work that I was doing. I knew that I was so lucky to have that opportunity, and that I would be nowhere I would be nowhere without them. Like if I was at any other firm and I was sitting there for years and years just doing one thing, I didn't have any expertise in actual expertise in IP, because you really don't gain expertise that fast you just don't. They don't give you that complex of work. So I really owe so much to them, and it was hard to let that go. Of course, I was very privileged, and I completely recognize I was so privileged. I had, my spouse's income. I didn't really have to worry about things financially, if something were not to work out. And I had a lot of social capital. I was at a good firm, and had something not worked out, I could have gone back. It's not like I was doing something, so harmful, to my career. So now I do feel I'm more at the point of non-return. But at the time, I feel like if something didn't work out or I didn't like it, it would have been okay. I would have had options,
Right.
And I thought I'm in such a secure position, I have to take this chance.
Sure. That's perfect that you recognized a need in the market, and everything kind of seemed to align for you to recognize that and to be able to take the leap. So what's been your favorite thing so far about having your own practice?
My favorite thing so far is definitely the clients, that I work with. I loved my clients that I worked with at my other firm, my old firm, because, you work with people every single day for years, and, you get to know them. And once you know people's business so much, you understand their risk tolerance level, you're able to anticipate what they want. It's such a good relationship to have long-term relationships with your clients. And I love the business side of things, and they love that about me. So it was a great feeling. But at the same time, now I get to work with people in this very exciting industry. I think the creator economy is so exciting. I think Web3 is so exciting. And there are just a lot of really unique cases that I get to work on with such incredible people. I think that an average YouTuber who has to brainstorm, script, produce, edit, manage a YouTube channel is so talented compared to maybe a standard Hollywood actor that just shows up and says some things. There's a difference in the level of talent and grit you need to make it as a creator versus kind of what's been around forever. So the barrier of entry is lower now for people being able to monetize, their IP in that way. But there's a lot of competition now, so only the best succeed. And that's kind of who our clients are, right? You're only the people who are really successful are going to be looking to launch brands and protect their IP and things. But the people I get to work with are incredible. I'm in awe of them every day. So that's my favorite part.
So so I should have asked that one after this one, but what's been the hardest part?
The hardest part of having my own firm is definitely just being a business owner, dealing with staff, dealing with having to figure things out, dealing with, figuring out your own regulations, your own systems, processes, dealing with people. Obviously, you know, managing your people is definitely the biggest headache of like any business owner, I feel. So that's definitely been the hardest part. And also, like, as a business owner, when you start to grow your business and you add people on and you start losing control over what you wanted to do, like, I don't even have control over my own social accounts anymore. You know, I don't know what I don't get to just free for all and like go on there and post whatever I feel like doing. It gets taken down if I do stuff like that. They have a strategy and they want to follow it and all of that. So you lose control of like certain things I feel that people really liked about me, and that's unfortunate, but it's just part of growth. You have to let go of some control. And that's okay. So that's been the hardest part, actually.
That's interesting that you say that's okay, because I feel like for a lot of people, that is one of their biggest resistance to growth, right? It's kind of once they start feeling like they are having to allow other people to do other things, because we do tend to like to control. But that's interesting that you've been able to have a good mindset around that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy. It's like you just want things to be the way you want them to be, like comfortable and easy, but that's, you know, everything, every single component of business is like a science now, whether it's social media, whether it's regular marketing, whether it's, you know, how you respond to emails, whether it's like automating, you know, reminders. Every single part of business is a science, and you can look to optimize things. So that's like, as you know, business grows, you really have to focus on that. You can't just focus on, you know, oh, the good old days where, you know, I answered my own DMs and like it was so fun chatting with people. Like, no, I'm never really probably going to have that again, but you know, now I get to like help a lot more people, and I get to like be able to produce a lot more valuable content. I get to automate reminders and things like that to people, where so no one's having that headache. So that's all been, you know, just part of what, you know, growing the business.
So when you look back over your whole career, what has been your biggest obstacle?
Just as an attorney.
Yeah, or as you know, a female attorney who also wears a business hat these days, because you're obviously, like you said earlier, you know, you're primarily a businesswoman and who happens to be a lawyer.
Yeah, I think I'm really lucky. Like, you know, IP is not a field where you need to be an older white male to be successful. There are still fields of law. I do not feel that I would be successful as like a criminal defense attorney, or certain types of attorneys that have to show up and there's going to be biases and things. You're not going to get good case results. You're just not. That's statistically shown. I'm very lucky that, you know what, nobody's ever going to see me, you know. So it's really unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that we live in like a world like that, but I'm in a very favorable field of law to
Mm,
be kind of anonymous, the legal work at least.
yeah, I've never
So
really thought about that. That's a really interesting perspective.
I really don't think because I say this because I know how other lawyers treat me when I go to lawyer networking events. Like, they always think you're like 5 years old. They just think you're totally incompetent. And that is just an inherent bias that society has, and it is what it is. It's definitely a battle to be fought, but in terms of my career, I'm lucky. I don't feel like I have to fight that in my field, in my specific area. So I've really been able to focus on just the actual, you know, skill set instead of worrying about that, which would be it's so unfortunate that female attorneys in other fields do have to deal with that. And you know, they're not as good of attorneys as they could have been if there aren't biases. Not, they are great attorneys, but because of the biases, they don't get, you know, the results that they should get all the time.
And they're always having to kind of battle that rather than honing their skills.
Exactly. So in terms of like the hardships of being a female attorney, I'm really lucky that I don't have to deal with too much of it. In terms of in my whole career, what's been the hardest? I mean, obviously your age is going to be a big factor. People are definitely going to consider that you're not competent, or who, like, what do you don't know what you're talking about. Those kind of things always come up, but I also have I have very like specific expertise in specific things that, people come to me for, so that's the flip side of it.
So I'm curious, who inspires you or what inspires you?
I think my biggest inspiration is my dad, because he is just like, I don't know, I can't even describe, I can't find like a one word thing to describe him, but he is just such a hustler. And, he came to this country with literally nothing, and he's built this, so many, actually, he's built multiple like insanely large, like multi 8-figure businesses in like a matter of, a couple of decades. And just like the way his brain works, how pragmatic he is as a businessman. He's a physician, and my mom is a doctor as well, but the businesses that they've built, especially my dad, like the businesses he's built, the way that he approaches businesses, and just that really pragmatic business first mindset has truly transformed my legal career. Because any lawyer, not any lawyer, most lawyers can write a memo to you about their field of law, and they'll tell you the law, they'll tell you what they think about it, they'll write a great law school bar exam type of essay. It's useless to any corporation or business. It's really useless. You have to being able to understand business objectives and being so pragmatic about how to achieve them, and assess risk tolerance levels and creative ways to mitigate risk or obtain better outcomes. That only comes from somebody who's like actually had to grow and build businesses from scratch very quickly. And so my dad is the only person I know really that's done that, that I'm that close to, that I can go to all the time. So he's definitely the person that inspires me the most, like and I feel like even in legal terms, like he has done so much in the business field, like lawyers go to him for advice, actually.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah,
Shout out to Anna's dad.
yeah, he's really like, he is like incredible. He's my biggest inspiration for sure.
And I'm sure he is one of your biggest fans.
Oh yeah, of course. Of course. He like checks my Instagram every day. He's like, he's like, why don't you have 100K yet? He's like, what are you doing?
It's like, what's wrong
So
with you?
funny. Yeah. No, he's like, he loves it. He like watches all my videos. He like loves what I do. He like always like to bounce ideas off him about business is great. So
Awesome.
I'm really lucky to have that.
Yeah. So okay, shout out to your dad. Where did he immigrate from?
Oh, I immigrated as well from India. So we came here, my family came here when I was like 2 or 3.
Okay, so you were very young when you moved here. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you like, what is the biggest problem that you're seeing right now? And it could be in business in general for influencers, or in the legal field in general, that you want to solve?
So the biggest problem I think I see in transactional work, it's going to like combine everything. So the biggest thing I see is that there is just a lot of resistance to proper like legal services
Okay.
by lawyers, by law firms. So obviously we all know like traditional law firms, traditional lawyers benefit and make a lot more money by being inefficient and actually bad lawyers. So that system is so ingrained and incentivized that there's actually amazing tech out there now. Like, I don't know if you do trademarks in particular, or if you do other things in IP, but like, the AI search features for patents and trademarks is like, it's incredible now. It's like 1 second can do what 100 attorney hours will take. So, there's already really incredible tech out there, really incredible AI that not many people are using at all. They don't want to use it. There is a lot of discrepancy with, there's a huge lack of accountability in the legal field, which causes rifts with clients. And in the transactional field, I think people don't think that there needs to be a lot of trust between the client and attorney, but in my opinion, you absolutely do. Like, it should be like, your lawyer should be like your partner. Like, there should never be like so much resistance, like, oh, I can't go to my lawyer, I can't like clear this with them, or I don't want to work with, I'm going to work with 3 different law firms because, you know, they're all price gouging me, and I'm going to piecemeal on this project. So all of that kind of stuff, any sort of rift in that attorney client relationship and transactional work is going to reduce good outcomes for clients. So I think, you know, that the lack of accountability with traditional law firms and traditional lawyers, the basically incentivized inefficiency, which is the billable hour model. So incentivizing being so bad at your job, and like there's no reward at all whatsoever in traditional law firms to do anything better, to use the AI that's way more accurate than human, and to use it as a tool. So, you know, it's at this point in time, it's not replacing a lawyer's mind. You have to go through everything with a fine-tooth comb. Just like when you work with, you know, foreign counsel, they're always going to say, oh, it's great, file, give us the money, right? You have to like put your own brain into it and think about what's best for the client. Same thing with AI, use it as a tool. But lawyers don't want to do that right now because they have not been able to figure out a way where they can be more efficient and, you know, increase their revenue.
Right. Yeah. And law firms are particularly low. They've always been slow to change. Right. So this is going to be even more challenging when something is when you see it being as super efficient, but it's kind of bucking that efficiency and pushing down their revenue. That could be a very
Yeah,
scary thing for law firms.
right. And that's something that you have to figure out a different model then, or figure it out. Like that's part of being a business. But, you know, in terms of if it's going to take a long time to change, I don't think it is. I think that there are companies out there that will just replace competent legal help. And that's what is the worst part.
Yeah.
Like people, like if you look at LegalZoom increase like 16% in 1 year last year, there's a reason,
Right.
because nobody wants to deal with a lawyer that's going to charge probably, you know, at least twice as much, and potentially is not going to be a good experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, these other legal tech, legal service provider companies that are not law firms will replace traditional law firms to the detriment of clients, I think.
Yeah. So let me ask, what do you want the audience to know about Ana? And keeping in mind the audience would be primarily female lawyers, maybe a few steps behind you. What do you want them to know about you?
So, okay, I'll tell like, I guess some like really good advice that I wish someone had told me when I was at my firm. And that is like, you are always going to feel like you can't do something, or like it's not the right time, or that it's too late. There's always going to be like things that will want to hold you back from doing whatever it is, whether that's just getting a new job, or whether it's starting your own practice or joining someone's practice, whatever it is. It's the barrier to entry has never been lower. It's never been easier to, you know, do things for yourself. It's never been easier there's never been a better time. Like and I really think this opportunity though, this opportunity window of so easily being able to go out and like start your own very successful firm very quickly with social media, this opportunity is here for like another year or two. And then I think there's going to be so much legal marketing money on social media, unless Web3 really pans out and provides some new opportunity. Like, you know, the opportunity that we have right now is like female attorneys, or if you're younger or anything like that, if you really want to go out and you want to do something significant in the legal field, now is the time to do it.
Do you think that particularly applies to intellectual property, specifically trademark work, or would you say?
I think IP is the hardest field. Like this is like, no one wants to hear about trademarks. Like, let's be real. Like it is so hard to make content that people care about. It takes a lot of skill and like experimentation. If you're any other type of attorney, I feel like it's so much easier. Like criminal law, immigration, like doing hot topics, like IP is is one of the worst fields, because it's hard to create good content with IP and transactional work. It's so boring, but that's a skill too, like making people care about something that is hard to make people pay attention to is a big skill set. But you can learn it right now. Like that, if there's never been a time before ever in history where regular people could make money, because you always had to pay for marketing before. You always had to pay. There's never been a time where you can go out and spend 10 seconds making a video that gets 1 million views. Like, I don't think people realize the impact, like, and the opportunity, the window of opportunity they have, like, right now. That's not going to be here forever.
Let's take a quick pause for a message from my sponsor, Prominent Practice.
Are you thinking about a career transition from big law or partnership to a solo practice, selling your practice, or maybe you're launching a project unrelated to law? Whatever the reason for your transition, you'll need support along the way. Enter Prominent Practice, an executive consulting and marketing firm specializing in branding, positioning, and reputation management for transitioning attorneys. Founded by a female entrepreneur who spent a decade building smart digital platforms for thought leaders before pivoting to focus on high-end service providers who were preparing for successions, mergers, and acquisition events in their businesses. If you're thinking about making a big business move, don't risk losing the ability to leverage the reputation you've spent your career building. Let Prominent Practice be your guide. Visit prominentpractice.com/blissed for an exclusive introduction.
So I would say anyone listening to this, if you're hesitating, like, get your act together and get started.
Anna says, get your act together.
Yeah, a lot of people, like, they think about things, they plan things, and like women especially, like, hesitate a lot to do things that, you know, are significant. There's a lot of considerations, like, that people have. Like I said, I was incredibly privileged, and I want to recognize that not everyone can just up and leave at the snap of their fingers and do whatever they feel like doing.
Yeah.
You know, not every, you know, some people have unsupportive spouses, or, you know, they have like family child problems, things like that. I get it. Women face more of the burden for that. But if you're in a spot where you have a chance, like, it's a disservice to yourself to not take it if you want to.
I love that piece of advice.
Yeah.
If you could write a note to yourself, to Anna, the day that you graduated law school, like, and having, like, from your current position now, like, looking back, what little nugget would you give her?
I would say, this is terrible, but I would say, work a little less hard and worry about networking a little more. Because at the end of the day, it's unfortunate. Law students listening to this are like first, second year attorneys. No one is necessarily going to remember every single all-nighter that you pulled for them, but they will remember if you send them a birthday card.
Ooh.
So just like, it is actually the most valuable skill I feel that I have now, is that I feel like I can make people like me pretty quickly, like, be friendly, happy with it. Like, that is, I can't tell you how incredibly valuable that is. Or being able to make a 10-second video and make people actually care about you and, like, care what you're saying. Like, making people like you, being able to sell your personality is the single most important skill that you should develop right now, like today, as a lawyer. As a female attorney, it's going to be more valuable for you than 20 years of experience.
These are some amazing words of wisdom.
Yeah. So if I could go back to the day I graduated law school, that's what I would do. Work a little less hard and just network a little more. And like, no one's gonna remember the extra hour you put in.
Right. Or like you checking your email at midnight and responding to them, but they'll remember, like you said, like the birthday card, or like the call that maybe you made to them just to check in on them and see how things were going.
Yeah. So and then another thing, which I don't think I always knew this, like, always, but your network is your net worth. Like, you never know when someone's going to need you. You never know when you're going to need someone. You never know what opportunities people are going to come to you with. Literally, you never know what, you know, is going to happen to people ever. So,
did you hear that from your dad?
No, I didn't hear it from my dad, and I don't think he implements this as much as me, but I think he doesn't need to. I think he, you know, at this point in life, he has a lot more like social and financial capital. It's like people like me are like hustling to get with people like him. So it's like, but at the time, like I've used obviously my family's network. Use every opportunity you can with your network. Use your family's network. Don't be ashamed of it. Like everyone has their blessings and hardships in life, but use your network, use your family, your friends, get with everyone. Make sure everywhere that you go, every single person you ever meet in your entire life should know what kind of attorney you are, what you do, who you are. That's it. Like they don't need to know all the things about you, but like make sure, like I don't know anyone I would meet and not tell them I'm an IP attorney. Because you know what, they might follow me on Instagram and 3 years later they'll DM me and be like, hey, my boyfriend started a business, like, can we get, on a phone call with you? And there you go, there's 50K in your bank account in the next week. You never know who you're going to meet. Never burn a bridge, always be available and open, and like keeping your eyes open for opportunities, whether like with law or not. I think there's so much opportunity out there, making sure like people like you, and then making sure that they know what you do. As a female attorney, use it, it gives you a lot of credibility. I don't think I would not have gotten the opportunities that I get today if I wasn't an attorney, like not legally speaking. I've invited to like board meetings. I'm invited to, on podcasts to do certain things. I wouldn't be doing that if I wasn't an attorney. So if you're a female attorney and you're not doing that and leverage it, use your network, like, yeah, it's a huge piece of advice. I feel like people don't do that, but it's so important.
Do you think female attorneys are more resistant to doing that, right? To kind of putting it out there? Like, hey, I'm an IP attorney, or I mean, just compared to men.
I feel like they put it out there, but like they don't maybe want to seem as like that like they're trying to be elitist and things like that. So that's where that whole and it's a fine line for women. You do not want to seem like you are trying to overpower and like be a know-it-all or like on a power trip. You don't want to come off that way. And I get that. But it's that fine line. Like you need to make people like you and like just know that you're really passionate about what you do, and make sure that's the one. If they're not going to know anything else or remember anything, that's what you want people to know. So it's like perfecting those interactions with people that will give you a lot of opportunities that you wouldn't even dream of, as women. So women maybe hesitate to advocate for yourself. You don't have to advocate for yourself in that way and come off so strong, but you need to just make sure people know who you are, what you do, and that you are very nice and excited about opportunities. That's it. Like they don't need to have any other thought about you in their head if that's all they remember.
It's how you make them feel.
Yeah, it's how you make them feel. And you need to make sure. There's something else actually I want to say, because I see this happen with social media that's very dangerous that lawyers are doing, and it's going to harm females more than men. Think about what you post when you are going to complain. It's very stressful. It's very difficult being a lawyer. It's very difficult being a female attorney in a lot of fields. And it's a very toxic field. Like the legal industry is really toxic, and be very careful what you put out, because even on my bad days and whatever, and I love what I do, but we all have bad days and we all have things we hate about our industry, the regulations, this and that. Be careful about complaining about what you do, or saying you don't like being a lawyer, or, it's great to advocate and do certain things, but, just recognize the consequences of that. I see it a lot. There's TikTok accounts full of just women talking about how the legal field is against them, or how they don't like working a lot in what they do and they're looking for a new field of law. Like, just be really careful what you put out, because if you really want to grow as an attorney, as a professional on the internet, I mean, your feelings, your day-to-day feelings of the grind of law is something you should discuss, with your family, and have your own personal support system with your, partner, parents, whatever it is. What you put out as an attorney is what clients will see, and you should want them to feel that you're competent, you're passionate about what you do, and the best of you.
Right.
So I think there is you can be really casual. I'm so casual on social. Like I'm literally in sweats all the time. I haven't worn makeup since pre-COVID. Okay. Like I'm the casual person there is, but when it comes to what personality you're showcasing, you really want to showcase yourself in the best light possible.
Right. And like an air of positivity about you rather than complaining. Who
Yeah,
wants to go to the lawyer who hates their job, right?
exactly. But I see I don't know why people are, and it's great to have open discussions about mental health, and it's so important to talk about these issues. But if you're a female attorney and you're trying to build some sort of business or personal brand, maybe it's not going to be the time and place that's going to be favorable for you to do that.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be I feel like people are going to hate me for saying this, but you have enough battles as a female attorney and small business owner, and just choose your battles. For me, that's not a battle I want to take on. And I see that as something that is so incredibly permanently harmful to young female attorneys or law students. I see posting about law school so hard, I don't like it, or my job is so hard, I don't like it. It's not making a client want to go to you, and the clients that you have are not going to feel like you want to be their lawyer.
Mm-hmm. That is great advice, right? Like we have to be very careful about putting too much information out there. And I mean, even though we think we can delete a posting, sometimes people can take a screenshot. And at the end of the day, anything that gets on social media could potentially be permanent.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not like you're not necessarily going to remember to go delete stuff, or maybe you are, but even so, it's just, there's definitely a time and place for certain discussions about women in law and diversity and mental health and things like that. And those discussions can be public as well, in a forum of other lawyers or on LinkedIn and things like that. But in terms of your day-to-day, what you're putting out, be careful what you're trying to do. Like everything we do on the internet is such a curation of our professional persona or personal persona, whatever you're doing, right? So it's just that I just think that a lot of female attorneys don't recognize the consequence of what they're doing. They think they're doing something amazing because they're opening up about mental health, and maybe it is amazing, maybe I'm in the wrong, but my opinion is really think about where you want to be in your business. And for me, the most important thing is for me to help my clients as much as I can and as many as I can, because a lot of my clients are like female content creators, male content creators who other attorneys won't help. For me, it's more important for me to do my job really well and to grow my business. That's going to make more of an impact in the world than it would if I wanted to cry about how hard, law school was. Exactly. Like, there's a time and place to do that. And maybe that's some people's battle. I'm just saying, like, that is, if that's what you want your the leg to stand on social media to be, that's one thing. But if it's not, if you were just, if you really actually want to be a professional on the internet, just consider what you post out, every single thing.
I love that. So you do a lot of social media work, like you're on TikTok, and I know that you have help with this as well, but do you have any other like little nugget? I think that that's a great nugget, right? Be very conscious of what you're putting out there. Does it reflect the brand, your personal brand appropriately? But do you have any other like pragmatic advice for people who are thinking they may want to do TikTok? Or
yeah, I think so it's really different in a lot of fields of law, but it just takes experimentation. And once you kind of figure out what people want to hear from you, then you'll figure out what kind of content you want to make. And you just have to be really authentic with yourself. You have to make things as easy as possible on yourself. And you're, as a lawyer on social media, going to be considered an expert, and you need to use that to your advantage. So, write like tips from a lawyer, like lawyer, react, something like, use that to your advantage. Like make it really clickbaity about being a lawyer. There's not a lot of lawyers out there right now on socials, so use it to your advantage. Like I said, the window of opportunity is here, but it's not going to be here forever. And the more content you can produce right now, the better. And there's nobody I know that can't spare. If you spend an hour a day for the next 90 days creating content on social media, you will never have to worry about money again in your life, ever. People will be throwing money at you. And people don't realize that.
I think we need to get better about creating content rather than just being the consumers of content.
Yeah, I actually don't go on socials anymore because I feel like I'm a creator. I produce quite a bit of content, and I feel that as I consume content, I don't want to inadvertently like copy someone or not be original. So I actually don't go on social anymore. But you know, if you're either a consumer or a producer, there's not really anything else you are on social media right now. Lawyers have a good opportunity. If you're thinking about going and building a brand on social media, you really need to dedicate the time to do so, because usually you have to learn, number one, you have to learn to talk. That's the most important thing. I don't know why this is not a more like required skill for lawyers, but being on TikTok actually made me a million times better lawyer, because I can actually like talk to people in a way that they care about it. Like your clients aren't going to blow you off as much if you can actually explain things in a way that makes it like, hey, this deadline we have to do is because XYZ reasons, and this is the consequence. If you can put that in like plain language English and make them understand things, you know, you're going to be a better lawyer for it. And social media will teach you that, because especially video content platforms like TikTok is very unforgiving. If you can't meet, like if people aren't caring about you and what you have to say, like they will scroll past you. So it's like automatic feedback of how good of a communicator you are. So just produce as much as you can and dedicate the required time. It's actually a very necessary skill. I would say being able to make, especially right now, like short form video, being able to make good short form video that makes people like, you have to learn the skill to make people care about you instantly. You don't have 3 seconds, you have like 1 frame. So you have to learn that skill, and then you have to just like learn how to communicate effectively. Those skills are actually so valuable as a lawyer. And it's like a necessary skill now, because if you can kind of do this whole like short form video marketing or long form video marketing, whatever it is, like you can sell your personality on video as a lawyer. You can really automate a lot in your practice. So I send now, when my clients like marks get registered, I send them a Loom video or like another type of video. They go crazy. Like they love it. It's like they will literally send it to all their friends. Like it is actually so beneficial to you as a lawyer if you can learn to sell your personality on video.
Yeah.
Sell your passion, not your personality, but just very important skill set is like learn how to talk on video. Learn how to talk on video, and you know it will help you a lot. Dedicate the required time it takes to learn it. Dedicate the required time it takes, you know, to do all of this. It's very important. It's more important than spending an extra hour drafting something. It's more important. It's going to affect your life so much more.
And learning how to speak the client's language. And I guess that kind of comes down to like what you were saying about almost being able to translate complex issues into something that the client actually understands. And really one of the best ways to do that, it sounds like, is via video. And I love the idea of doing a video after they get their mark registered, because like you said, they share it with their friends. Like that's amazing. It's amazing marketing. It's perfect.
Yeah, they're going to have that forever. Like they're going to know exactly what everything means. It cuts down even like search reports, like just make them a quick Loom video, go through, or memo, like just go through things really quick in there. It will cut down on your phone time. It will cut down on the questions they ask you. Like being able to, explain things on video to people will save you so much time, will make them feel so special. And like you went so above and beyond, because no lawyer is doing that. Like no one does that for anyone. So if you do that kind of stuff, like it will set you apart so much, and it's a lot faster.
And you can always transcribe it, right? And have the content within the email so that people can search it later. Or if they prefer to read, right? They have that as well.
Yeah. So just video is very important. It's like really, really important for all industries. But I think, you know, if you're a female lawyer, you want to set yourself apart, it's a great way to do so.
I love it. So I have to ask, Ana, what is next for you?
So I have a lot going on actually. I'm actually starting to thinking about like expanding my firm services. Like I'm teetering on the idea. I don't know if I want to stay just IP or if I want to expand to do more like of a comprehensive transactional, firm. I really want to grow my firm, obviously, to be like, I ideally, like in 5 years, I want to have like 100 attorneys.
Wow.
So that would
Yeah.
be like my dream. So I have like a lot of big goals for my firm. I want to potentially expand not to just IP. I'm still on the edge. Like, it's great to be so exclusive in a field, but my clients really like working with attorneys that understand their field, and they need a lot of legal services, not just IP. They need their, assets protected. They need their contracts and things. So I'm thinking about how I'm going to expand. It's much more complicated, not an IP, because I have to deal with all these states and bar, I have to find like 50 attorneys, one in every state, that kind of stuff. So it's more complicated than IP in that sense, but that's what's next for my law firm. I am launching a TikTok course for lawyers because it's been like asked for like a year. So it's going to be like a complete like everything like about the TikTok algorithm, TikTok SEO, voice SEO, how to film, how to edit, what works, what doesn't work, and like actually being able to do things that bring in revenue versus just, go viral, and then like ethical things with lawyers that we have to consider. It's gonna like cover everything, which is why it's taking like longer than I wanted it to, but it's gonna be like 30 chapters long or 30 like modules long or something. So that's next, because I think while I love talking to lawyers and I'm like always, as to the greatest extent I can, like happy to chat with people, it is now getting to a point where like so many lawyers are like asking me constantly all the time that I just can't do it. Like I would be on like 10 Zoom coffee dates a day if, I was able to say yes to everyone. So yeah, I that's kind of like the big things that are next for me. And I have a lot of things in the works. Like I have like I really want to do a contract shop for people, and I'm doing like 100% organic marketing now, but I really want to start figuring out how to do all the ads. That's like over my head, but like get another marketing team member and start doing that. And just so much is going on. I just want to continue to grow, kind of doing what I'm doing.
I have a feeling you're going to. I think the sky's the limit for Ana Law.
I hope so. I mean, I think it's good to be able to serve like the kind of clients that I serve and have some I think the legal field is so traditional, and no one should turn their nose up at people, and I feel like they do. So I want to be able to provide a resource where people who are in, more interesting or newer industries can find like excellent legal services. So they don't have to turn to the legal Zooms or, tax attorney who's your dad's friend who will file a trademark for you, and then to come back to me and I'll pay me like 10K to fix your stuff. So it's like I want to be able to provide that resource for people, and be able to be a traditional-ish law firm who has that additional expertise of understanding these emerging industries.
Yeah, and he's very forward thinking. So where can people find you?
I'm pretty easy to find. So my socials are all at Ana Juneja, and yeah, that's the easiest way. And all like my emails and links are like on all my socials.
I'll have a link to your website in the show notes and in your socials. And then also if you have like a specific link to your TikTok course that you're going to be launching, do you have an estimated launch date of that?
I think it's going to be in a month.
Okay, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. I think this window of opportunity with social media, I'm going to emphasize it again, it is here for like literally 2 more years. And then at that point, you will not be able to do anything.
Wow.
So the people who are monetizing and building their brand now are good. But the people who wait till, 2025, 2026 and decide, hey, it's time for me to leave my firm and or I get laid off because, you know, we got this new software that does my job, you know, it's going to be too late. So if you're thinking about it, if you have any inkling that you know, really want to build your brand, now is the time.
Now's the time to do it.
Yeah.
Wise words of advice. Ana, thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today on Legally Blissed Conversations. If you love this episode and you want to hang out with other inspiring and light gold female attorneys, be sure to join the Legally Blissed community at legallyblissed.com. And be sure to follow me on Instagram at Susie Hickson. See you next time.